And I'm live now, I believe.
Give you peanut
I
butter.
have blue bouncing bars for the audio, so hopefully that works. And I appreciate that I actually have an audience already. I've been sitting here with my son discussing plans for the trip this weekend. I do not know right now whether or not there will be a live stream this coming Monday because I may still be on the road at that time this coming Monday. We will see. I am not cold. Are you cold? I am. It's actually quite nice here. And I think that our high today was like 57 degrees, and it's supposed to be like that for the next couple of days and even get warm. Up to I think a high of 70 on Wednesday. And Johann is sitting over here coughing, so if you hear weird little noises in the background, he is not quite better from everybody being sick. And I do mean everybody. Whatever that virus was that was going around the courtroom during Ian's trial, I believe 100% of us who were there caught it. I wasn't there. I caught it secondhand from my husband who had been there.
Same with me.
And Sanford brought it home to us, and Johan and I caught it from him. I'm better, and Johan is getting better.
No, I'm
He's
mas-
still coughing a bit,
I'm
but
masking it with ibuprofen.
that's not masking, honey.
Okay.
Ibuprofen allows for your body to kind of give it a rest and heal when you're hurting too bad.
Odd little fun fact
So what?
before I go away.
Yes.
So I found something, and I'm gonna have to share it with you. There is a ongoing college project.
Okay.
I don't know what school it is, where all the kids have these mini nurseries in different regions, not counties, regions of Texas. And what they do is they make exact, um, what's that called?
Measurements?
Exact plant, how you treat plants that'll grow there,
Ah,
things that'll grow in the air, how you need to treat them. And there's one for specifically Wichita Falls. Oh,
very
we should
cool.
see that.
You'll have to look into that. He's telling me about a nursery project by different college students growing plants in different regions in Texas. It would be interesting to get in touch with them and find out what works well in this area
They have
because,
a website.
oh,
They have a
cool.
website. I had a paper for it and I lost it. So
Ah,
I'm gonna get you another one.
thank you. I appreciate that because right now I feel like I can't garden here. And I know that that's not true, but feels that way. I can try to turn up the volume, Mom. And let's see here. Johan knows how.
Ice filters add
Filters.
gain. Okay, gain up.
Okay, is this better, Mom? Johan is adjusting it. It's oh well, Johan was way over at the end of my desk, and that's why you probably couldn't hear him. I think I have the knob on the microphone itself better. Oh, good. I'm glad that's better. It was weird because I had to do the cooking thing. I had unplugged everything, and then when I plugged it back in, it wasn't. Things didn't reconnect properly. I am figuring stuff out though, slowly but surely. I am learning.
Did you add your own noise suppression? I saw that
My
on the
own.
icicle. The icicle had a filter for noise suppression already on it.
No, you must have done that.
Hmm.
All I did was redock the ice with the icicle. It had gotten disconnected. So I'm also considering getting a small ring light to set with the webcam on the desk so that I have better lighting because I feel like the monitor screen I'm looking at is very dim, dark. And this isn't a particularly dark room, so that has to do with the video quality, which I might also solve just by getting a better webcam. I don't know. Hello, Ray. Um, all of these things are things I must learn. The other problem with doing the live stream, well, okay, not problem. Challenge with doing the live stream on the road would be that uh I won't have this laptop with me and I won't have all this gear with me. I don't want to carry it all with me, first of all. And second of all, um, we're not going to have a lot of space. We're taking a bunch of stuff down to my daughters, the last of the stuff that we'd been storing for them, which includes a queen mattress and a dressmaker's mannequin and an office chair and like 8 large boxes of stuff. So the back of the truck will be quite full. We are planning on having a minimal amount of our own gear with us, which will probably include for my travel laptop. I'll actually take the little laptop that I run Vellum on, which is this itty bitty little Mac laptop. It's tiny. Mom, I have no idea, but they want it, so I will take it to them and they can figure it out from there. And at that point, I won't be storing any of their stuff anymore. Now, when Johann moves out, we'll see how long it takes him to get all his gear. Especially if he winds up going into the military, then it might be here for a while. Fortunately, we do actually have the storage space for it with this house. Ray, yeah, I had to get a Mac because Vellum, which is the formatting software I use, only runs on a Mac. And I know that there is a uh, Windows version that's supposed to be the same as Vellum. It's called Atticus, and no, just no. Vellum is fantastic. It saves me so much time to be able to just throw a manuscript in there and put it all together and then it's be done. Um, and I am so happy with how much time and effort it has saved me. It is well worth the money to have bought this little old Mac because it's not new and it's not a speedy thing, but it's tiny. It's so little. Um, anyhow, it is well worth it from the Vellum perspective. I would never have bought another Mac otherwise. I went from being all Mac all the time, um, because I've been a Mac girl since the Apple IIe, Ray. Um, the SE30 was my first Mac, and then there was the PowerBook and the original Bondi Blue iMac, and but in 2014 I switched over completely from the 2009 iMac that I had been running up to that point. It's it was a good machine, but it got to the point where it was too expensive for me to get the specialized software, which is ironic now that I bought a computer just to run specialized software. But at the time with college, I just couldn't afford to run Mac, and so I went Windows. And at this point, I've got Windows and I have Mac, and if my child has his way, I will be running a Linux machine for my next desktop. We will see on that because, again, I have specialized software, and I'm not sure he understands that. Lightbox is an interesting idea. I actually do have some photography lights. Um, Whether or not I could set them up here and make it work, I'm not sure. Um, Probably bounce them off of the ceiling would be the best way to do that kind of thing and basically turn the office into my own light box. I may try that next time I do. But I have photography lights, so I can always set those up. They're not sleek and small. So Yeah, the full spectrum is actually a really good idea because I'm gonna do something here, and you'll see a weird light in a minute. I have a happy lamp for um, and that is shining right on me. I have a full spectrum lamp for sunlight replacement, and exactly, so I'm not sad. I don't know um how much I'm going to have to deal with that here in Ohio. It is, I think, going to be much better for me here in Texas than it was in Ohio, where it was gray and dark all the time. On the other hand, I'm inside all the time. Thank you. I like these glasses. Courtney Bryant, who writes as C.V. Walter, so some of you know her as Raconteur Press's editor, but also she does the Alien Bride series. And she has a much better sense of style than I do. So when I needed to go shopping for glasses, I pinged Courtney and I'm like, hey, can you look at Zenny with me and help me pick things out? Yes, the blue alien lady. But she has a very elegant sense of style. And between her and Jonna Hayden, I might actually have a um, a chance at being somewhat fashionable. I mean, wool, flannel, plaid notwithstanding. Yes, yes, you have modeled her fashions, and you looked smashing in them, Ray. I don't even think you were drunk, but you did rock that tiara quite well. Oh, it's yeah, it should be freezing up. I've got. Oh, you know what? Yeah, bounce the happy lamp off something is probably better than what I'm doing right now. I don't think I ever did put the Ethernet cable back in this, so I'm running on Wi-Fi, which might be the freezing up issue. Let me see what I can do. I see it. It's a blue cable. There it is. I did not plug it back in. Wi-Fi is not usually a problem. There we go. Haha! There we go. Let's try that. Now it's on the Ethernet. So maybe with the hardwired, and I'm going to turn down the happy lamp because that is blinding me. There we go. Sorry, guys. So yeah, the happy lamp might be helpful for lighting. A better web camera is probably helpful. This one is a random no name one that we had laying around the house. Yeah, sorry about the plaid. But it's warm. Wool plaid shirt is is a nice layer. I It's kind of weird because working from home means I basically don't have to get dressed. And I don't. Now we're good. Let's switch over to Ethernet. There's a delay. I don't know how long the lag is for you guys, um, but it should be better now. Well, it says I'm on Ethernet. We'll see. Link speed 100 Mbps. Hopefully that'll do the trick. So, oh gosh, yeah, Christmas was very quiet here because um everybody was sick. Sanford took forever to get over this. He's still not 100%. As he said earlier today, he is weak as a kitten. He's been sick since Wednesday. Um the the virus has been kind of a combination of fever, cough, chest congestion, and just general kind of bleh. So, um, so he's been really hard down. He hasn't been sleeping much because he wakes himself up coughing. We finally got him sleeping in the recliner at the end of my desk here in the office so that he was somewhat not laying flat. And that has been helping with waking up coughing. He got a decent amount of sleep last night, but it's been rough sick for all of us. Um, Christmas Day was basically we did presents in the morning and that's about it. I didn't cook, I didn't do anything. So today has been running around after work trying to catch up on some of the stuff that needed to be done for the trip. And I still have to make a batch of mincemeat. I bought everything for it. I have meat thawed out and ready to go. So that's probably my tomorrow project because we will leave here around 5 in the morning on Thursday to head down to Corpus Christi. What I was thinking is I might try doing the live stream um, Monday on the way home, and I might literally do it while we're traveling. We will see how that works, but I will have the Mac and I will have my phone, so it's possible that that we can make the live stream work because Johan's driving, so he will do most of the driving on Thursday because I will actually be working while he drives. And Monday, other than we plan a visit with a friend, I don't know if RK's on here or not, but Monday we'll be stopping in and visiting with RK and Mikado, and and then coming home after that. So, well, with the possibility of grabbing hotel if it gets super late, because I don't want to push the boy and I don't want to push me. He doesn't have work on Tuesday, but I do. So, yeah, I should probably make Sanford take some vitamin D supplements. Actually, no, I think he's been taking them. I'll have to check with him, make sure that he's been taking his D. Trying to get either of my men to take medication of any kind is. Ugh. Johan over here, he's been running a fever and has been just achy and generally black. And I was trying to get him to take ibuprofen and expectorant. I don't necessarily want him to take a cough suppressant because he needs to get the junk out of his lungs. But the the bare basics of at least let yourself get some decent sleep with some meds is a good idea. But can I get either of them to do that? I cannot. And of course, poor Sanford trying to not wake me up succeeded in waking me up. Between Christmas Eve and Christmas, I slept very little. I think maybe 4 hours each night. And which is part of the reason Christmas Day I was just dead out of it. Even today, it's a good thing that work was low key because most of my team was still on vacation today. It's a mandatory holiday for the employees. Contractors get to choose whether they worked or not. Ray, I suspect the problem with megadosing that she's having is actually the absorption, the uptake. It probably upsets her stomach if she has too much. That's why I can't take iron. My stomach just can't handle absorption of that much, so I get really sick. And as you can hear, I still have a little cough myself. I was never as bad as Sanford or Johan for that matter. But but it's never fun being sick, but it's part of life. And honestly, for to get Ian acquitted, it was worth it. I mean, the fact that Sanford was able to be there for him was totally worth it. I wasn't able to. we weren't sure how long it was going to take. And oh, yes, Ray, I could do that. um, milkshakes with extra. We weren't sure how long Ian's trial was going to take, so I debated taking a couple of hours to do it, but as it turns out, it took most of the day, so I'm glad I didn't. It would have been difficult for me to take that much time. Um, so the way I get around the nasty tasting vitamins actually is I buy gummy vitamins. And I think originally they were being designed for kids, but I have gummy vitamin B, I have gummy multivitamins, and I don't currently have them, but I have had gummy calcium and vitamin D. So those are options because I think both of my men folks will actually eat the gummies. Um, I know it's easier for me. I'm more likely to actually remember to take them because I like the gummies. They're like candy. They're fruity. So I pay a little bit more for them, but yeah, no, definitely Old NFO should be fun tomorrow. I was kind of sad that Thursday didn't happen when we could have all been there, but it's it'll be good to listen because I can listen to that while I'm working. I just Well, technically, I could take my work laptop and go work from the blanket fort for a while and be there for that rant, but probably not gonna. Um, oh, Hershey's syrup. That's so funny because the last shopping that we did, this would have been Wednesday, I think it was. Um, before Sanford was really starting to feel sick, yeah. Wednesday we did some shopping. And one of the things he asked me to get was Hershey's syrup. And then Christmas Day, he realized that he had me buy Hershey syrup and we already had some. It was just in a place he hadn't looked. So now we have two bottles of Hershey syrup. I'm sure it will get used. Oh, so hot cocoa. Have you tried Mexican hot cocoa? We get the abuelitas. They're tablets of chocolate. They're like this, and they're these compressed chocolate cakes, and you dissolve them in milk, and it takes quite a while because they'll slowly kind of melt, but they won't really go into the milk until you bring it to a boil and hold it at a boil. Um, for a little while, and it takes time. It's a very long, slow process because you have to stand there and stir it because it's milk. I actually have been wondering if I could do it in the instant pot as like a slow cooker thing. I don't know. That might be worth trying. Um, but yeah, so abuelitas is the one we usually do. I could probably make it from scratch, but I can get the abuelitas, and we don't have it that often anyway because it's incredibly rich. I can drink it because it's cooked. I don't know why, but if the milk has been cooked, I can drink it without too much digestive crankiness. I couldn't drink chocolate milk anymore, but I can drink hot cocoa with when it's been cooked. And I don't know that cooling that and drinking it cold makes it chocolate milk. Probably not. It's not quite the same thing. Um, Molinoya? I don't recognize that. I'm going to have to look that up. I usually put a pinch of chili in it because the Abuelitos doesn't have the chili in it. It's just the chocolate. Oh, that's a good idea, Ben. I could do that. I keep thinking I'm gonna go ahead and buy myself a molcajete. Ooh, I know what I'm gonna do. When I'm down in Corpus Christi visiting the girls, I'm gonna see if I can't find a supermercado and get a molcajete down there. That might be even better because the supermercado up here in Wichita Falls closed down. The landlord raised the rent, and there was a lot of other issues, I gathered. So they called the landlord's bluff and they closed. So now we don't have a supermercado. We have a little Mexican market, and they have really good meat prices. But the supermercado where I could get stuff like molcajete and the big pots and pans, that's gone. So I'll have to do that elsewhere, which might be on the trip to Corpus Christi. We'll see. Um, this is going to be a trip on a budget because I've got to get down there and back, and Johan has college payments due as soon as I get back. So I'm like, have to be careful with the pocketbook while we're traveling. But it'll be good, and it'll be really good to see the girls. It's been a year, and that is way too long. I don't want to do this long again without getting down there to see them. Oh, okay. I'll have to see what I can find because I use just like a balloon whisk usually, but that sounds like that might be a better. Yeah, I have used a coffee grinder as a dedicated spice grinder in the past. Unfortunately, my spice grinder got dropped and broken during the move from Ohio, and I haven't replaced it because I do have a mortar and pestle. So normally, when I'm going to grind spices, especially if I'm only doing a couple of teaspoons, the mortar and pestle is the fastest and easiest way to do that. But I definitely miss having a dedicated spice grinder that I could just grab and buzz, buzz, buzz. I'm not going to do it in my coffee grinder because then the coffee will taste weird and Sanford will give me a hard time. Oh, which reminds me to make sure that I stop and pick up some fun K cups. My daughter has hinted a couple of times that, because I was saying I was just going to bring coffee down. I have um I have some nice coffee here, but I think that she has hinted a couple of times about having the pods, so I may pick up some pods to take down. Her coffee maker will do both pods and brew. So so I will do that. My future son-in-law drinks coffee. One of the daughters does and the other daughter does not. So it's one of those things of I had initially offered because last time we visited them they didn't have a coffee maker. So I had initially offered to bring down a um, French press with me because I have French press. I actually have a stainless steel insulated French press that would be easy to pack along and not have to worry about it breaking, unlike the glass ones. So I
By
don't
the,
have a stick blender either, Mom.
by,
Yes, coffee after grinding Thai peppers would be, woo! That'll wake you up in the morning.
by the way, abuelito, if you let it get cold and drink it, is cloying.
Yeah, I figured it probably would be. Yeah, I'm not totally I don't have to I don't have to do the whole authentic thing. So, I try not very hard admittedly, but I do try to not just acquire random kitchen gadgets because they amuse me. Um and it's nice that I actually have the storage now to have those. So, ooh, the Texas pecan coffee that I used to get at Winco was really good. So that sounds like a plan, Doug. I know an HEB trip is planned for when we get down there because I didn't want the girls to go buy extra groceries for when we're down there. So we said we would go grocery shopping that evening when we get down there. And I think they said that the two closest groceries to them are Target, which I'm not thrilled with, and an HEB. Although I guess it's a small HEB. But that's okay. It'll work. I just don't want the girls going out and spending a bunch of money on having extra food there for us because I'm their mother, darn it. I am very proud of them because they are very independent and they are managing all of this on their own. We have had to do a couple of times where we help a little bit with them, but it's really been, they've done all of it on their own, and it's kind of amazing to me. I'm very proud of the fact that they're budgeting and that they are planning ahead. And cast iron, Ray. I have a lot of cast iron. Is there anything specific that you had in mind? Oh, cast iron because it amuses me. Well, yes. I mean, I have. What did I just get? I got this pan that does not the cornbread that's shaped like corn ears because I had that already, but this one is a cast iron pan that makes almost complete cylinders, and I think it's like a ladyfinger pan or something. I'm sure it had a specific reason, but I picked that up when the North Texas Troublemakers was doing a booth at a little flea market antique show. We were selling books and art. Um, yeah, I try to remember about unitaskers too, but sometimes, I mean, there's things that he wouldn't do that I will because, for instance, I keep a pastry blender because it's second nature for me to grab a pastry blender and process through my um process through my pie crust, and I can do that. I mean, I can do pie crust with my fingers for goodness sakes, but um ooh, a cast iron pizza stone. Now that I'm gonna have to look for because we could use that. I want to build a pizza oven in the backyard, but I don't know. It's probably not gonna happen until after Johann moves out because I love my child, but once he decides he wants to do a project, he stops listening to me. So when I say, "Oh, this is what I want to do," he's like, "No, we need to make it bigger and better." And I'm like, "No, no, small projects." Oh yeah, no, we have a dedicated cornbread skillet. It is one of the smaller size skillets, and it is old enough that you can see the sand marks from the sand casting. It was Sanford's great grandmother's that we're aware of, and possibly older than her. Um, Most of the cast iron that we had initially was actually Sanford's. Um, and because his mom had decided that she didn't want it anymore, so rather than her giving it away or chucking it, which I gather she's done with an alarming amount of stuff that he would rather she didn't, he rescued all of the cast iron from the family and brought it back with him to Ohio, where I married him and his cast iron. Um, Ray, I am not sure that I would want to use the same pastry blender on pie and black powder, but there's probably a story there somewhere. Oh, I can just imagine that one right now. Oh my gosh. Yes, very much yes, Doug. He's I hope it gets better as he gets more practical experience because there are times when he's just like, I must do this and it will require me to buy this tool and that tool and the other tool. And I'm like, dude. Yes, Ray, it is a very old pan. Um, I mean, if you calculate out from Sanford was born in 1958 and this was his great grandmother's, although Kentucky generations that are a little shorter than your average calculation of 20 years. Um, Still, a potato gun sounds like fun. Uh, yeah. Oh, he initially wanted to do things with the shop here until Sanford and I sat him down and we're like, dude, this is going to cost $20,000 to set up what you want to do. We can't afford that. How are you going to afford that? And that led to a little bit of a snit fit. He's getting better, but this was like really early in the moving in process. We were still having some issues with maturity. He has gotten so much better this last year. I mean, he's working at Sutherland's Lumber right now, which is not just lumber. They have lumber and they're a more local, a Texas version of like Home Depot or Lowe's. So he's actually really, really enjoying working there. It sounds like the people that he's working with are good folks, and he knows enough to be useful when a customer wants to know how to do something or where to find something. So, um, David, you can probably make it because, to be fair, Sanford's family is stereotypical in some ways. Uh, I mean, it's um. Well, let me put it this way: Sanford's mother was 17 when she had Sanford, so I don't know about the generations back beyond that, but that was not far outside of the norm. She was married when she was 15, and yeah, long story. Not my long story. Although I have said a few times that based on the stories that I've been told, that I should probably write a science fiction story, set it on another planet, and I can use the real life stories to world build another planet because that's safe-ish. If Sanford comes back in, right, I'll ask him. He might have a better idea. But yeah, that's probably about right. I was going to say turn of the century there seems possible. And I know that Dad had some cast iron that was more like, oh, 1860s, 1870s, somewhere in there. And I am being distracted by notifications. So for Christmas, and this is actually relevant to the notification I just got because it was a comment on my blog. For Christmas, I got myself books. My team got $25 Amazon cards, and I took that. Plus, I had some ebook credits. Um, I get the ebook credits a couple of different ways. One, the the thing that I've been doing is you can accrue points and then redeem those. So every time you buy a book, and it's not just a Kindle book, but anytime you buy a book, you get points. And since I had bought two books for other people for Christmas this year, that helped because one of them was kind of an expensive book for Johann. Um, but I buy books on the regular, a little bit here, a little bit there, it adds up. So I had a bunch of points saved up that I could redeem for ebook credits. Plus, I will often select the ship a little slower, get digital credits from um the when you order things on Amazon. If you ship slow, then they'll give you a credit, a digital reward, which you can be spent. I've spent them on music, books, and audiobooks. So, terribly useful. And those actually you can stockpile, which I did during Christmas because I was ordering for Christmas presents early enough to get them here in plenty of time. And the uh, the idea was kind of to stockpile enough of those to have some fun money to spend on books, which I did. So I blogged about what I bought, but what I was looking for was kind of food anthropology, food science books, um, because it's a topic that interests me. The problem was when I initially started looking for it, I'm going and I'm looking at food books and I'm like, okay, why are we all about the gender studies and racial inequalities and whatnots of food? And mind you, I don't necessarily think it's completely off base because indeed food can tell you much about your culture. I just object to the activism being put into things as science when it's clearly not. And it makes me sad because it means that a lot of the newer technology that we could do phenomenal things with as far as bioarchaeology goes. I mean, we can scrape the inside of ancient pots and analyze that through chemistry and know exactly what was cooked in that pot. I mean, heck, and there's cases where you can actually extract the DNA of the plants and foods, meats that were being cooked in pots. This is very exciting to me. Unfortunately, that kind of science gets inextricably entwined with the we must do this in order to succeed in academia activism, and suddenly it's not science anymore. So, what I was able to do with my little $25 gift card was buy a whole lot more old books than I would have been able to spend on, say, just part of one modern um, academic tome on the latest up to date stuff because I don't trust the latest up to date stuff. And this makes me sad, but it also meant that I wound up with 6 or 7 books instead of a book plus my own money into buying the book that I really wanted. The problem is, of course, that one of the books that I did get, I thought I was getting the 1997 edition, and what showed up, because used booksellers are not always careful about how they list stuff on Amazon, as I have discovered to my chagrin several times over the years. Um, the still what showed up was the 2008 version, and it was supposed to be the 1997 version. And that means that there's a lot of the new edition removed a lot of the papers and essays on useful topics to insert the slacktivist stuff that I don't want. The bibliography should be helpful, and there will be some solid stuff in there because they kept Mintz's paper on sugar, which I almost bought separately. So that's part of the reason I bought this book to begin with. Um, because sugar and culture and socio-political thing really is all tied together in fascinating and weird ways, much like bananas. um, None of this is stuff that I intend to address in my cookbook. Uh, Out of my depth of field, out of my scope, out of what I'm inclined to talk about. But on the other hand, it's fun to read about. Everybody has to eat. We all eat. Um, and learning more about foods, where they came from, the way that they have been altered by culture, the way that they're similar across cultures. I think I've talked about the fact that the first time I made naan, which is an Indian flatbread, Sanford's response to it was to shrug and go, it's fry bread. And he was not at all impressed, and I never made it for him again. Because he'd grown up with it. To him, it was nothing. Um, I like naan because it's rich and buttery and yum, but that's a whole other thing. Um, but the flavor profiles too is a big thing of if you grow up with one flavor profile, quite often you'll have trouble with other flavor profiles. Not all of them. There's some that will translate well. Sanford's palate in particular does very well from the Kentucky, Ohio foods that he grew up with to Germany, where he spent quite a bit of time in the army stationed in Germany, and he loved German food. And he also likes Greek food, which is interesting. Um, oh, good, Ben. I'm very happy to hear that. I did notice that there were quite a few orders of the Treehouse book in print before Christmas, so I'm hoping that there were some happy gift recipients of books. Um, I know I always like getting books, but then again, I'm weird. Not amongst this group, but you guys come hang out with me because we're like minded, which makes us all weird. So, anyhow, spinning off onto, yes, Sanford likes none of the above. Oh. um, I do want to uh, write a cookbook, and I do want it to be a little bit more than just recipes. I mean, yes, it's going to have recipes, but I would like for it to also have some science and a little history and possibly some culture. Um, it looks like I'll be able to get some recipes from my family that will go in there, which is a nice tie of, I think that Ben Hunsinger sent me a link earlier to the cookbook his mother is responsible for, which I have downloaded and taken a brief glance at. It looks like it's going to be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to going through that. Right now, I'm looking less for recipes. I don't want recipes so much as I want that front matter, the interesting stuff from the antique cookbooks. Brillat Savarin, who I mentioned in the blog, is going to be quirky. And there may wind up being quotes from him sprinkled throughout the cookbook because he's in public domain and I can do that. Uh, but just, he was French, and we all know how the French are about cooking. I mean, he was French in the 1790s, and they haven't changed much. Yeah, Troublemaker Cookbook is actually a really good idea, Ray. That's not what this will be, but I can definitely see that happening down the road because Ian likes to cook and Jim likes to cook, and Jim has a rich history of Cajun cooking that I would love to capture in a cookbook. So that's a possible thing going down the road. And Stephen, thank you. I appreciate that. And no, please don't be dead or broke for that matter. You have a lovely fiance to support. uh, my watch is nagging me that I should get up and walk. So, oh, the one she used. Good, Ben. I wasn't clear on whether that was one that she wrote or if it was one that she used. Actually, since I have it here on the desk with me from doing mincemeat research, I have the one that I grew up with, which is the Meta Givens Modern Encyclopedia of Cooking. And it is a lovely old edition with the speckled end pieces. And this is the one volume with the really thin onion skin style pages. There is a more modern edition that is two volumes and has a thicker, less durable paper. The one that I had was a little bit more brittle. This one is the actually the 1954 printing, and that was its 17th printing. The first printing of this was in 1947. And it's funny because it actually tells you how many copies were printed at each run. So this particular printing, there were 26,000 copies printed of this particular cookbook. And this is what I grew up with, was this edition of the Meta Givens. And I was given the more modern 2 volume set, and it wasn't the same, it wasn't right. And then my mom gave me the edition that she'd used while I was growing up, and it had actually fallen apart. It was in pieces. Um, and I wish I still had that, but unfortunately, too many moves, too many things got lost. So I finally broke down and went looking, and this is part of how I know you can't trust the Amazon used book sellers. I went looking for this specific edition. I wanted the single volume. I wanted the thin paper because it's the thicker paper was brittle and breaking. This doesn't do that. This is very good quality paper. So it took me a little while to make sure that I was going to get the right thing, but once I sent off for it and it showed up, I was so happy because this is my childhood. I mean, this is what I learned how to cook out of. Um, I started cooking from scratch when I was 9. I can remember my first bye Ray, have a good night. The first meal that I made for the family all by myself was pot roast, which isn't difficult, and a German chocolate cake from scratch, which is. But that's what I grew up with, and I have been given some family cookbooks over the years. The other one that's sitting here on my desk right now, and this one is falling apart, is the Grange cookbook from the Oregon Grange, and this was my great grandmother's cookbook, and it has bookmarks in it that she put in it, and there's little pencil marks and comments in it that she put in it, and it's a treasure. It is a family heirloom, and I am hoping that someday I'll be able to pass this on to my kids. Um, my daughter Pippa is actually a professional baker at this point. So I suspect that, and my other daughter really likes cooking and cooks experimentally, which it's definitely a chip off the old block there. So I suspect that the girls will want my cookbooks when the time comes for me to downsize or to leave it to them altogether, which should be a good long time. But trying to think ahead, the books are one of those things that the vast majority of my library, the kids probably will have no interest in. I have I have a lot of military history, which Johann would be interested in. I have shelves full of mythologies, folk tales, fairy tales from all over the world. That's research for my writing. But I don't think my kids are going to want that. They definitely won't want the shelves full of gardening books and identification of, I mean, for goodness sakes, I have a dichotomous key identification for lichens and mosses. None of my kids want that. That one they should be able to sell for a profit, though, because it was not easy to get. But it's a while before I need to worry about estate planning. But I will at some point have to think through my library and go, okay, what do I do about shelves full of art books when none of my kids are artists? Eh, who knows? I will think about that later. For the time being, I will enjoy collecting the books that I need for research. And then I will write stories that I don't have the research for because I'm trying to write a Space Marine story, and I am struggling with ranks. I can fake Air Force and Army somewhat, and I can always ask Sanford for Army references. What I can't do is if I have set up Navy as being the um, basis for a space navy, because there's books that go with Air Force as the basis for space forces, and there's books that go with Navy as the basis for space forces. Well, this story is loosely set in the same universe as the Tanager, and I had set up the Navy as being the rank basis for the um, ships in that setting, which means that I need to figure out what rank a navigator on a ship would be. Fortunately, this is what I have the old NFO for. So I will probably run this story by him before I send it off for submission. Um, and hopefully he can straighten me out before I get myself too deep into trouble with it. I am going to, rather than trying to make this a straight up military story, my Space Marine story will be a search and rescue story because that I can write. Um, that's a whole other. I mean, I can talk about vectoring in on signals because I have actually done um, training on how to track the ELT signal from a downed airplane and how to vector in on that. Um, I can do that. I can do the concept for a search in treacherous terrain, a derelict spaceship. Um, and so that I'm fairly confident of, and I can also deal with the psychological issues of both the survivors and the rescuers. Um, so all of that I'm fairly confident with, but this first bit where I'm trying to deal with the little navy part is just, mm, I'm hung up on this, and I shouldn't be because the story is due in 4 days, and I'm working on it. I've got about 1,000 words into it, and it needs to be somewhere between 5 and 8,000 words. And once I get past this block, then I can groove into the rest of the story, I think. I hope. Commander, thank you, Ben. I had guessed Lieutenant Commander, so thank you. That helps me a lot. The other little thing that I think I know, but I don't know if this falls into the dangerous zone of, oh, I think I know that, so I can assume that this is safe, is I think I know that the Marine captain on board ship would be honorarily addressed as Major. I think I know this because that way you don't have two captains on a ship. But I don't know that for sure. So that's the other one that I'm going to have to check. Well, this would definitely be full on navigator because it's not going to be easy for them to find a drifting ship. Um, According to this, an O3 is a lieutenant, so we'll see. And I also have the leeway of it's my Space Force. I can say what it is. I mean, I could give them totally random nonsense ranks too, for that matter. I need to ask Jim, old NFO, what warrant officers actually do. The legend is that they don't do anything, but they must. Jet, you have until midnight on December 31st. Go for it. It's 1,000 words a day. You can do that. Well, folks, I'm going to let you all go because I need to go check on the men because they suddenly went away and got very quiet. And I need to see if anybody needs to eat anything and make sure that everybody's good for the night. Yeah, Ben, I think that probably it's going to depend on the size of the ship. There's going to be a bunch of dynamics on this. It's a fairly good sized ship. I have to look up what size ships are to give it a rough thing. Um, because they had space to pick up lifeboats. They're fairly fast though, so they're not like a really big ship. It's not like carrier type thing. Battleship's probably the closest to what I'm thinking of. They're faster than the civilian trader ship that's also in the vicinity. So the plan is they have picked up what lifeboats there were from the um, passenger ship. It's not completely clear um, what happened to the passenger ship, which seemed like a reasonable position to go with. They'll find that out as they get to it. And then they're going to go after it because it's basically it's not just adrift in space. It has a engine running wild or still running, not necessarily running wild, but the ship being in motion and in kind of a loose spiral motion makes it a little bit trickier to find it. So, but yeah, I need to get myself off of here, take care of the guys, and then I can write for a while because I would like to get another 1,000 words on this story, if not more, before I go to bed tonight. All right, folks, I will do my best to have a live stream. Uplifted Animals is due early next year. I will talk to Ian about making sure that he gets some due dates up on the website. Um, and yeah, I don't know when Moggy's in Space is due, by the way. I sent my story in last week. Um, I am doing Uplifted in the Space Marines story because it actually fits into the Tanager universe, but it won't be Ian's specific Uplifted.